guys, and welcome back to another episode of Are You Not Entertained? Maybe not as chipper as before. Last time we were super excited, but still positives. We will try and find them. But I've got my two main men, my top boys, by my side. Got my brother, Peter. Peter, how are you? You had time to calm down, to get a bit, I suppose, to cheer up a little bit after the other day?
But do you know what, mate? I was just saying to Ollie that I've been spending too much time talking to him because I'm still actually quite positive. I know, obviously, it's a disappointment, but normally I'd sulk probably right through to about Friday. And actually, by Monday, I was pretty calm. I was picking the bones out of it, and I was in a good place, Jess.
I'm glad to hear it. Good for your blood pressure too, and I always worry about that.
Yeah, we all do, Jess. We all do.
We all do. And Ollie, how have you been feeling? I mean, obviously, it was a disappointing result. It fell to pieces. But, you're still smiling. How are you doing?
Always smiling, mate. Always smiling. Treated myself to a new microphone, so I should sound even better than I already did.
Let's see it.
But yeah, so that's been my weekend, really. I suppose that might have been a way to cheer myself up after the weekend. I've kind of gone opposite to Pete, so we'll see.
Show us your microphone. Get your mic out.
Get your mic out. So I've got a little mic just set up here, look. Lovely.
Oh, lovely.
It's very thin.
There's more to it, Jez. I'll pick it up. There you go.
Oh, wow. Yeah, really nice. What shape to it. All right, but we're going to start, boys, by talking about obviously the West Ham game. Absolute madness. I mean, everyone in the Tottenham universe would have been so excited after the first half, and I was a cynic before it, thinking, we've got West Ham, we just smashed them, United. It was super positive. Bale's coming back. Something's going to go wrong. You just feel that way before, which is probably part of the problem. And then we go 3-0 up so quickly in 16 minutes, and I started sitting and think, why did they even down? Why are they even down? Playing so well. Kane and Son are absolute firepower. No one can live with them. The way that we'll speak about tactics a little bit later, but I was thinking to myself, you fool, you're a moron. They've proved to you, and you still haven't felt like it was okay. And then it was in a full sense of security, and then what happened? But let's try and talk about the first half first. So, Pete, I'll come to you first. First half, first 16 minutes blew us away. How was you finding it? What did you think of the game? What did you pick out?
Yeah, I just think, we just looked good. We moved the ball quick. Kane and Son will get all the headlines. Well, no, the fact that West Ham come back will get all the headlines. But for the first half, Kane and Son should have got all the headlines. Tango, I thought, was superb. I thought he's starting to really look the player that we want him to be. Was getting stuck into tackles that we've not really seen him do before, doing the stuff that he normally does, but starting to do the dirty work as well. Harry Kane at the minute is the best player in the Premier League, in my opinion. There's no one getting near him in what he's doing. And Son, to be fair, ain't far behind him. So, I also saw, I was fuming, there was like a double bet on Sky Bet. It was like 66-1. It had a name like Return the Favour or something. And it was Kane to set up Son to score and Son to set up Kane to score. And someone put a tenner on it, won like 670 quid, which fair play to him. But we just ripped them apart, man. Like, we just looked real, real good, moving the ball quickly. Even with Sissoko in there, Sanchez wound me up like he always does. About 30 seconds in, and he gave the ball away really poorly. And then he obviously went to Kane from around that area, and he picked out a worldie for Sonny. But yeah, it just was. I was the same as you. I was really nervous. About 10 minutes before the game, I started getting the real nervy jitters, like I always do, but like properly bad. And like you, I was like, why did I doubt us? We've just tonked United. We're 3-0 up. We're cruising. And then the second half happened. What were you thinking first half?
I don't know. It's difficult. I thought we played well, but I thought West Ham played fairly well in the first half. I'm not sure I think we scored like the perfect times. Like, we scored. Then they started better than we did, albeit we scored. But I thought, I think they had a couple of chances, and then we literally like counted them like lightning and scored, obviously. And obviously the other two goals, all like pretty good goals all round, really, all very much on the counter. yeah, I think I could have argued that 3-0 was harsh on West Ham in the first half, to be fair. And then when you look at the stats at the end of the game, pretty even, I'd say. But like I said, don't get me wrong, we played very well in the first half and blew them away with just far superior players in sort of the attacking way. Every attack they had just sort of collapsed on itself, whereas ours, we put in the back of the net with like you say, the best player in the Premier League and Sonny. But yeah, I want to echo your thoughts about Ndombele as well. I thought he was brilliant. Very much getting involved in the play and being just a big part of the team, which is what all we could have asked for him, really. And it's one of those where, you know, with players back fit, with like a Lo Celso in there, maybe we don't collapse like we did. But for me, it's a complete freak, really, in terms of what happened. Much like we scored at the right times, they also scored at the right times in that second half. I think we had the game pretty much nipped in the bud, and we pretty much thought of every attack they had, and then they just snuck one, and then that was it. And then own goal, avoidable, goal at the end, absolute worldie. Like, what can you do? That's football, isn't it?
Yeah, it's football. It's interesting that you say you didn't think, you thought that both teams kind of had an even spell of it in the first half. I think, yeah, maybe they had a bit more of the ball, but that isn't necessarily what we're trying to do. I thought what we were was super effective. I think the first 3 shots we had 3 goals. I thought Kane was bossing the game, absolutely bossing it. In terms of, I actually thought it was a little bit embarrassing that they didn't react to the fact that he was obviously going from this centre forward to the normal slot and not slipping back into the 10, but almost slipping back into a whole midfield area, centre mid, for a fair few times, coming real deep, picking up the ball from players like Tanguy, from Sissoko, and bossing the game. And I thought it was ludicrous that a player like Declan Rice, or any of them, if it was to be honest, didn't just say, right, we'll pick him up. Whenever he goes deep, I'll go and pick him up. And just made it easy for us, because they just all went, well, we need to keep our positions. This is how we play. These are the centre backs. These are midfielders. We're not going to move around and juggle it. You have to react to a player like that when they're that shit hot. And Sonny made it easy. Scored. Kane then shines again. I thought Reguilon's wasn't necessarily perfect, but he's very exciting, and his cross was spot on. And that is a very difficult technique. Don't underestimate how difficult it is to cross the ball first time. And he did it cultured. He put enough power on it, but he didn't need to swing his leg. He just caressed it essentially into the box, and it was spot on. And don't underestimate how hard that is, because it's a very difficult technique. And then, for Kane's other goal, it was his first that he scored with his feet, and then he scored the header as the third. His first goal was impressive. I mean, Sonny gets the assist, but I think he did a double nutmeg, which I think if he'd have nutmegged the keeper, he actually gets to keep one of their players. I believe that's true anyway.
Is that the law?
That's what I heard. But he was unlucky. He nearly got the third nutmeg, but he doesn't get to keep one of them. But yeah, as you said, he moved into the second half. And yeah, I mean, I thought it was, I mean, Pete, you were saying within like a couple of minutes in of that second half that everything's kind of died, like we need to regain our focus. You were worried about our players. I was watching it thinking both teams are done. Like, I thought West Ham didn't really fancy it anymore either. They kind of reserved to the fact they'd lost. We've just gone, we've won this already. And both teams just relaxing out until they get that first goal. So we'll kind of go through the goals. Ollie, I'll come to you, mate, first. With the first goal, another free kick. I mean, it's getting frustrating. It's normally in the same area of the pitch.
Yeah.
Pointless fouls. Was it Sissoko who gave it away? Or
I think it's the first one was Sissoko, isn't it? And then is he marking Balbuena on the back post?
He's him marking him, and he doesn't get up at all, does he?
I think that's of the goals we've conceded this season. We've conceded one from open play, which I believe was Danny Ings' goal, and we've conceded 8 goals, or maybe more. But yeah, that's terrible. That's not good. But like I said, stupid fouls cost us twice, and then you could argue 3 mistakes cost us: 2 fouls, poor marking, and an own goal. Like, you can't account for that as Mourinho, as the tactician that he is. You cannot account for that. And it's players that we're always worried about. Aurier, Sissoko, Sanchez. Players always, you just feel like they're going to cost you points, and it cost us points, big points.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the second goal, Pete. The own goal. Well, like I said, I was the same. Really frustrated with Sanchez even in the first half. I see people like defend him saying he had a brilliant game. He only made one mistake. No, he gave the ball away plenty of times to be upset with him before this, and they're already red flags. The penalty, of course, against United, he gets away with. This one is now getting under the microscope a lot more, but it's too many. He doesn't seem to be developing as a centre to be learning. But for this isolated incident in this goal, do you blame him for the own goal? How do you see it?
Yeah, I think I do. I think positionally he was all over the place on this. So I think when the cross comes in, he's almost on the half turn towards his goal, which is the wrong position. He has to be further across and on the half turn that way. Because if he's doing that, he's always going back towards his goal. If you throw your head, you throw a foot, he's going the wrong way. So for me, he's completely set up wrong. And he should be on the half turn that way. And if it goes in there, fine. Then you don't touch it and someone else can deal with it, or it goes to Lloris. But here you can head away, you can clear it. And I just thought he was just set up wrong. This is spoken from a man who has never played centre half in his life, but it just looked wrong. It looked awkward. And that to me was because his setup was poor. And he just, I agree with you. He just doesn't look like he's changed. He's the same player he was when we first got him. And I know he's not been there for that long, but he just hasn't got any better.
Well, a few years now, isn't it? That he's been about.
Yeah, long enough where you think you see some sort of development. And I do. I blame him for it. I mean, I'm sure we, as a whole team, I said, like you said, I said the attitude had gone bad. It wasn't good enough. And as soon as one goal went in, you just almost knew, didn't you? You just had this feeling. And that, like you said, I think that might be half the problem.
Mm. Yeah, I think you could argue as well at 3-2 with the two chances, Kane hit the post and Bale missed. Don't know how he missed that. And at that point, you knew for 100% certainty they were going to score.
Well, that is just how cruel football is. Like you say, the two chances. I mean, you did see, in my opinion, very positive signs. You could see that Bale needs to work out how Kane operates and realise that when he played for us before, he can go and pick up the ball wherever he wants. But now it's probably Kane's the linchpin. He's the player that actually goes to pick things up and he's going to make things happen. And actually, he should be able to enjoy that from his time at Madrid, from playing with players like Modric, etc. Excellent players who can play him in at all times. But the two things that I thought were really positive, I mean, let's not beat around the bush. He looked a bit unfit. He didn't look like he was ready. He was a bit rusty. He comes on, he does okay. He wasn't able to really press how we do and work hard enough, but that will come. The other thing was I thought him and Kane jumped up for a header a couple of times with each other or just got under each other's feet and weren't really sure. But there's also a moment when, I think it's when Kane hits the post, Sonny has the ball, Kane has the ball, Bale makes a fantastic run, takes away like 3 defenders, and then Kane's able to get the ball and hits the post. And I thought, that's powerful because you've got Sonny bursting through, Bale makes a great run, he attracts defenders. Who do you mark? It caused chaos in the West Ham backline of, oh my God, there's not one player we can ignore here. These are excellent footballers. That is exciting. And then for Bale's chance, and this how cruel football is, if he scores that, we're buzzing. This recording is completely different. The headlines are different. There's no grief online. It's all just Bale's back. And his footwork was so smooth. I've seen him score a few goals of that for Madrid. And it was kind of embarrassing for Ogbonna. He did it so simple, like the other, and Ogbonna just fell over. Maybe hints that he might.
Okay, so he gets a bit of push.
But he should bury it. And I think 9 times out of 10 he does bury that. And that's the gut thing. And that's how mad football is. Because then, like you say, we go on to concede. Yeah. I've seen a lot of grief for Winks. Pete, do you blame him for this goal? I mean, there's a few things. The free kick. What do you make of it?
First and foremost, it's a worldie goal. But I don't blame Winks like I blame Sanchez. Yes, he should clear it, but he's a little bit under pressure. He's just trying to stop Snodgrass getting there, I think. But he should know that that's just got to go. It has to go. So maybe some of the flack he's getting is fair. Just be smarter. Even if you put it out for a throw, just get rid. It's got to go somewhere. And if that happens, we probably win the game, albeit more scrappy than it should have been. But yeah, I don't think I blame him for it, but he should have been smarter. But the whole thing, we shouldn't have been in a position where if he makes a mistake in the 94th minute, we could still not win the game. That shouldn't have been the case. So for him to take all the flack is really harsh because there were so many things up until that point. Sissoko giving away a stupid free kick, they're not getting off the air. The Sanchez own goal. The fact that we weren't 4 up. Because Kane's one, he hits the post, is fair enough, is one from distance. But like you say, Bale should score. And for me, he went the wrong side. I don't know why he goes near post. He's set up just to curl that round the keeper, far post and finish the game off. But like you said, he's rusty. He's not had game time for a while. So, no, I don't blame Winks. But I am still pretty positive. Like, to me, it's just a bit of it's been a season of freak results. Like you said, Liverpool losing 7-2 to Villa. Chelsea the day before should have won against Southampton, drew 3-3. Us slapping United. There's been so many mad results going on that it just felt like a bit of a blip in a season where it's going to have those sorts of things. I still think we'll have a good year. I'm still pretty positive, and that's why come Monday I was all right.
Absolutely. And Ollie, what did you make, just before we move on from this game, the substitutions could argue did a lot more harm than good. Was you upset Mourinho at all? What did you make of the changes?
I think overall the subs weren't awful. I think we definitely lost control partly of the game in the second half. Whether that was fatigue in the midfield players, lots of international, well, actually not really. Højbjerg was only one who had to run out international duty. But Ndombele still getting back to fitness. But I thought actually when Winks initially came on, I thought we did actually look better. And then when Bale came on, or Bale came first, didn't he? But I don't know, it's really difficult. It's hard to tell, isn't it, with Bale? Like, he comes on, free kick, and you think he's going to go step up, and he hits it, and I see it straight to the keeper. But that alone just reminded you that everyone's in awe of him a little bit, and I think that might have been part of the problem as well, potentially. The Winks substitution, I think, was the justified and the right decision. Again, for me, the game lies mistakes. Even with the third goal, the free kick Aurier gives away is dreadful, absolutely dreadful. He takes a touch in our half, in our sort of third of the pitch, and tries to run it out as a big touch. The guy in front of him just runs into him. It's just thick. It's just dumb. And you're giving away free kicks in the last minute. It's just stupid. And then, again, just touching back to that chance of Bale as well, I think I was the same as you, Pete. Scream, why has he not gone to that right side? I don't know if he's overthought it or the nudge from Ogbonna has just pushed him across and he almost hits his heel rather than sort of the meat of his foot, so to speak. Maybe that sort of shunts it wide. But like I say, give him a chance. You said 9 times out of 10, Jez. I'd say 99 times out of 100 he scores that. Do you know what I mean? It's unlikely for him to miss that. But he's rusty. But there were a lot of good signs there, don't get me wrong. The sort of attacking play at the end was rusty, but it will come definitely. I was quite disappointed in Bergwijn, to be honest. He was one that I think was a justified sub as well. And I think you said in our group chat, Jesse, he almost seems like almost disappointed in him for not saying this is my position, and Bale coming in doesn't change that. You've not really seen that from him. But there's a lot of games. Game on Thursday, we can quickly move on from it. And like Pete said, there's a lot of crazy results this season, so let's just put it down at that, take it on the chin and move on.
Absolutely, and we will talk about the LASK game later. I know Ollie is a big fan of the club. It's been
I've got so many stats for you boys, it's unbelievable.
Vigorous studies about that. So let's talk about the world of football, boys, because as we always try to remember, there are other clubs in the world. As upsetting as it is, because they're often being quite mean to us, if you don't mind me, most of these other clubs. But there are a few things. Yeah, that's right, Pete. But there's a few crazy things going on. I mean, if we keep to the Premier League, and then we'll move on to some of the scarier things. And it's all Premier League that we're going to talk about, but some of them are a bigger picture, if you will. But we'll freak about Van Dijk, and a crazy, like, the whole situation was odd. I mean, obviously the offside's given. He gets injured by Pickford with a ridiculous challenge. I mean, I think part of it is that Pickford is a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
He goes to make his body bigger, kind of a natural move. But to put that into his impact with someone just looks insane. And then they don't even look at that. I mean, I don't understand what VAR is there for. I've heard rumours that they reckon that the blokes who were doing it didn't realise that that was a rule and that they were allowed to look at the Pickford challenge after the fact that it was given offside. So they didn't even understand what was going on. These are just hearsays and articles I've read. But Ollie, we'll come to you first. Did you watch the game? Did you see that challenge? What did you make of it?
Yeah, I saw the challenge. Saw what happened. Obviously, my job, my daytime job, is that's what I deal with injuries and sort of like sports therapist, that sort of thing. So I said to my mate Ash, who's a big Liverpool fan, when I saw the position of his knee and saw the impact, I said to him, mate, that's long term, 100%. And he was, bless him, he was so upset. But I was like, in the least like morbid way possible. I said, if he plays for you in the next 6 months, like, you've done really well out of that. But yeah, unfortunately, it's one of those, isn't it? Really, like, goalkeepers do that every game. They come flying out of people, and players are in the air. They get taken out and they jump over it. It's a complete freak. Is it a red card? 100%. Any tackle like that where you make contact, you have to give as a straight red. I heard things that they actually didn't even look at it. They looked at the offside. They spent so long focusing on the offside, they almost didn't look at the tackle, which is mental. I mean, Liverpool had 2 terrible offside decisions arguably given in that game, which is something else that you can talk about on VAR and whatever not. But yeah, I mean, it's heartbreaking for Liverpool. A similar thing happened to City last season with Laporte, who did his ACL early on. And it's Merseyside derbies doesn't help either. There's that element to it. I'm not saying that Pickford's gone for him. I don't think he has. It's a genuine attempt for the ball for me. But yeah, you can't beat Liverpool fans on Twitter getting petitions into Parliament and threatening to end Pickford's career. You can't beat him, can you? Sometimes.
and Pete, what did you make of it all? It's a bit of a circus act, just VAR constantly giving us things to talk about when it should be easy. I mean, Souness slammed it. He was saying it's not impossible to make mistakes when you're in that environment.
Yeah.
You're able to see these replays. What did you think? First of all, did you think he should have been sent off? What should have happened?
Oh yeah, 100%. He had to go. It's such a bad tackle. It's like diabolical tackle, man. It's awful. What I will say for the officials is it's a real freak incident, because not at any other point in a game of football will you have a red card challenge when the ball is dead. So the ball might be dead, you might get someone push or hit in the face or do something and get a red card that way. But for an actual challenge, it will be during game time. So the whistle, the ball will be live and the game will be live and someone will smash into someone, that's a red card. Because it came after an offside, I understand where the confusion lies for me as a football fan who doesn't know the rules inside out. But for people that are sitting in a room and their sole job is to understand the rules of football and make sure that football is fair, to not pick that up and realise that you're allowed to send that man off is nuts. Yeah. Almost as nuts as Jordan Pickford, who is mental, by the way.
It's nuts.
Like, just constant, just doing weird things all the time. Like, he is mental.
That again,
no, absolutely not. But you watch all the mental things that Pickford does, he is off his rocker, man. But yeah, he should have gone. What it does do is it blows the title race wide open, and I'm gutted for Van Dijk, because solidarity. I did my ACL as well, and it's not nice, man. It's horrible. I was out for a long time, but yeah, for him to be out for a long time is massive for Liverpool, because you saw after he went off, like, he'd not been long gone off. They conceded from a corner. Arguably doesn't happen when he's there, and what they've got as backup is not good enough, really. Matip is not good enough. Gomez struggles without Van Dijk, so that really does, like Laporte last year, was a massive loss for City.
Yeah. And they spent all season.
It's going to be the same for Liverpool. But yeah, I'm gutted for him, man, because the fact that Pickford's not even getting kind of a retrospective ban is mental to me, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, and I'm surprised that they haven't really come out and said what the decision was, and that to me just spells trouble. Just says we didn't really know what we was doing, we made a mistake. Again, I thought back before when they came out last season and said these 3 goals or these 3 decisions were wrong, they could have got away with not doing that and they shouldn't have done that. That actually made VAR look worse, whereas in this situation they probably need to come out and say what happened, what the protocol is, because otherwise it's just a problem. And it just makes everyone doubt the decision making and makes no one believe in the process. But we'll come away from that. I agree with everything you boys said, particularly that Pickford being great, but goalies are crazy, mate. Goals.
Can I add one extra thing to that Jez, on VAR while we're talking about it? I saw really great like a video from, I think, an Australian league game where they had the VAR sort of on side in a game of football, and all their refs are mic'd up like they are in rugby. And you heard everything he said, and he's like, I'm looking at this, like, why are you calling over, that sort of thing? And he explains it to him, they go through it, and they're like, yeah, I agree, red card, that's it, off he goes. I don't understand how a multi-billion-pound sport can't get something so simple that rugby can get right for the last 10 years. I don't understand. Mic the refs up, give the fans something to actually listen to, and involve them, and stop trying to hide. Like I think you said it a couple of pods ago, Jess. Stop trying to hide behind these obscure laws and obscure things that just make it worse. Just stop trying to limit yourself by saying we'll only intervene with 4 particular things, and just add sort of that transparency to the whole thing. I don't understand. I generally don't understand how an organisation can get it just so horribly wrong in terms of VAR. It seems to me a very simple thing that they just cannot seem to work out. And you just look at rugby, they've got it spot on. But I think they're trying to be too perfect in football, and that's the problem as well. In rugby, there is that, you know what, you're going to miss stuff, you're going to make mistakes. Players make mistakes, officials make mistakes, you've got to accept that. Trying to get a hair offside and whatnot, it just kills the sport, kills the game.
No, I think that's a great point with the mics. Even if they just mic'd up the guys that stopped the pass,
that's all it needs.
I don't need to hear the ref talking to the players every time. But if you can hear them saying, "This is what we're looking at. This is what we're going to do.
Simple.
Okay, that we recommend." Perfect. I think that's a great point, Ollie, to be fair. But we'll try and come away from VAR because honestly, VAR is just what everyone's talking about every single day, and it's driving me nuts. It just drives you nuts. They wanted to take away controversy. They've added it in bucket loads.
Worse.
So let's talk about Project Big Picture and where that sort of end up. I mean, we know that it was immediately sort of wiped away and unanimous. I thought this is very strange, actually. We know for a fact that the Liverpool owner and the United owner orchestrated this, brought it to the table, and then unanimously, all 20 clubs voted against it. For what reason does Glazier and, I forget the Liverpool, who's the Liverpool owner?
Henry. John Henry, is it? John Henry?
Perfect. For what reason they brought that to the table for the whole Premier League, and then themselves, their club included, said no, if it's not to start the ball rolling for something else. But if we look at big picture first, and some of the points it made, I mean, it's looking to get rid of the Community Shield, which I think is pointless, by the way, and I love the Community Shield. So doing to get rid of fixture congestion. Why? It's one game. What's the point? Doesn't make any sense. League Cup, get it. I get it. I could live with the League Cup being taken away. I think it's kind of understandable. We've got so many games going on. Okay, makes a little bit of sense. The £250 million to the Football League, brilliant. Very generous, extremely helpful. Is it 20% of TV rights going to the lower leagues? Again, makes a lot of sense. Helps them out. That is perfect because that keeps going. Getting rid of the parachute payment is dangerous because for me, what it means is when teams get promoted, they are not able in any shape or form to risk trying to buy enough good players to compete in the Premier League. So it will become nigh on impossible, in my opinion, to get promoted and stay up because you can't strengthen. No, there's too much risk. So if you do that as a smaller club, you come into the Premier League, you can't gamble on that. So you can't just say, well, we can spend a bit more because we know we'll get the parachute payment. They go up, they're going to go back down. I think it becomes much harder to become a Premier League side. What are some of the other laws? I'm forgetting now off the top of my head. Ollie,
They had new laws in terms of like relegation promotion. So automatic 2 down, automatic 2 up. But the playoffs would include the team who finished in 17th from the Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3, 4, and 5 in the Championship, which I quite like that. It works quite well in the Bundesliga. But the advantage is generally with the Premier League team there, I suppose. But
also added games. When you're trying to say that some of the things you're doing is to remove fixtures, you've added fixtures.
Yeah.
They've also looked at 18 teams, which I get.
Yeah.
I get, but I don't like.
Yeah.
You're just trying to make it smaller. And then, obviously the big one for me, which is
the big no-no
of capitalism at its worst, making the big six, and then was it Southampton and West Ham?
Yeah,
be
9 teams, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's 9. So there was one more. You are
Everton.
Right. Everton, for their longevity in the league, and then voting was just among them instead of the Premier League all getting a vote. These big teams get the vote.
Wasn't there a nuts thing like where they were going to say if a big billionaire comes in to buy a club, we can say no?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's nuts. We want you to agree to our terms, but if you ever try and challenge us, we won't let you. How can that be a thing?
I believe they're already doing that. The Premier League didn't know why the Newcastle takeover wasn't allowed. And I know there's some government things. I genuinely believe that owners at Manchester United, owners at Liverpool, and other clubs were vetoing that and saying they didn't want it to happen.
They were put under a lot of pressure, weren't they, because of the sort of Saudi Arabian sort of TV rights issues, wasn't it, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know it was a ball of mess, but it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if they was already doing things like that. I think there's already a bit of a takeover going on.
Yeah, definitely.
We will kind of blow through that, boys. Sorry, because I know that the world knows that was a no to. But I do believe it was a sort of let's get the ball rolling, and let's kind of put it out there that we're trying to take over, and that we're the ones that make you money. We're the powerhouses, and we want this to happen. And the sad thing is, I've read that we're very much behind. We were behind big picture. Spurs.
See, I thought there were only one team voted against it, and that was Leicester.
No, that was against the box office paying for games.
Yes. Okay, you're correct. You are correct.
For this, all 20 teams said no.
I can't remember what it was, but you're dead right.
Absolutely. And then, yes, I am. Yes, I am. And then
just this time.
What it's come through to is now still talking about the European Super League, which scares me to death.
Oh, I don't want it.
Pete, I want to come to you because I'd love to hear your opinion on this. Take me through it.
I just think I hate it. What a I guarantee if you got a vote from every single fan base in the country, most of them would be against it. And you might have some people that say if the big teams leave, we'll have more chance of winning the league. Who cares? What's the point in winning a league that doesn't have Man United, Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, whoever else in? Also, I know. In the current climate, fine, I'll happily play against a team from Germany. But when you can go to stadiums, what are you going to do? You can go to France every other week, to Italy every other week, to Germany every other week, to Spain every other week. No, it's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. All it is there is a money-making spinner for people at the top that want to make more money. Well, if you want to make money, go and do it somewhere else. Don't try and do it in a football club because it will kill the game. It will, the English Premier League is, as everyone always says, the greatest league in the world. And if you try and change it and take out the biggest, I don't know what they're doing. Are they doing it alongside the Premier League as well, like an extra little thing? Or is it a completely separate league? Because
they're trying to come out
separate.
Just completely come out. I hate it. It's been touted a few times before, but it feels like it really could happen this time. And I really don't like the idea of it. I think it yeah, it just stinks of making money for people at the top. And I hate to say it, it smells like Americans trying to make money.
Well, it's headed by them, and that's probably one of the big things that frustrates me. Is that the Americans come over and say, "Well, this is how we make crazy money." And you say, Pete, it could be like away days going to France. I think if they do European Super League, you will see Spurs against Juventus in Dubai. Man United plays Real Madrid in New York.
You just got to look at the NFL, haven't you?
And then then it's not your club anymore, really. It's not Tottenham from London. It's Tottenham Trotters or whichever clubs are in it.
Yeah.
Ollie, hate to rush you, but very quickly, what do you make of it, and what would you do with it?
I don't even know. I mean, if it had to happen, you'd want your team to be in it, wouldn't you? Obviously, like if your team's not in it, it spoils the whole thing. It ruins the whole romanticism of football, doesn't it? There's no, David and Goliath. It's just Goliaths everywhere. Just don't like. I just don't like the idea of it at all. Like exactly right, like Pete said, like you said, Jez. It just reeks of making money and just screwing over the smaller teams and just taking away their opportunities. I think like it's just because you're going to have to assume there's going to be some historical context applied to it, i.e. United are guaranteed it, Liverpool are guaranteed it, teams like that are guaranteed it, and that's not football. It's not how it works. You don't get to live on your history. You live on how you're performing right now, and that's exactly how it should be. Like Leicester won the league, Leicester deserves in the Champions League. It's simple. If they're going to do anything, they should do like bring back the winner of each league goes into a European tournament. Something like that. That's a better way to do it because you're the champion of your country. You should represent your country in that European competition. How are they going to do it? The Cup Winners' Cup. That's the thing. Obviously, that won't make them money, and football's all about money now. And they've got to be careful. They've got to be careful because fans aren't stupid and they can see that. And if they try and squeeze too much out of it, then the fans are going to disappear, and that's all the money gone, isn't it? Peter, what time is it?
It's time for that six-a-side segment.
Yes, it's that six-a-side segment. And as I always say, it's our favourite part of the video and nobody else's. But here we go. So this week we were looking to do biggest waste of talent, did we say, or biggest letdown? I suppose that sort of player that you thought had super potential or you thought was misused. Different ways to take it. And I thought there were different interpretations and hence some of my choices. As always, I'll go first because I'm the alpha. So I'll go first. I went for Kudicini. And stay with me on this. I went for Kudicini. Biggest waste of talent because he stayed on the bench for Chelsea for so long. And then didn't really get used either. And then eventually played some games in a row. So in my opinion, he was the best goalkeeper we had that we never used. And he wasted his own talent, in my opinion, by staying on the bench for Chelsea for so long. When he was one of the best in the world. Was it Czech who came in, took over, and then Kudicini just sort of bowed down and went, I won't play anymore. So I've gone for Carlo. Ollie, who have you gone for?
Just before I reveal my name, just on that sort of Kudicini point there, he is behind Petr Cech, who has come out of retirement to be part of Chelsea's.
I saw that.
How mental is that?
I saw that.
Sorry, I digress from the world of football, but what?
Petr Cech, who also has been performing in a band, and he actually played at some festivals last year or the year before. He's excelled. I saw him on Soccer AM. He's in a band now, and he actually played at Glastonbury, not on the main, but one of the smaller stages. How cool is that?
And he played ice hockey as well. But anyway, so my goalkeeper, I've actually gone for a current goalkeeper, and I've gone for Paolo Gazzaniga. I'll tell you why. Because I just thought, I don't know, when we signed him, I thought he was really good, and I thought he'd actually push Lloris, and he never has. That is my kind of thinking on that, really. I thought he was really good at Southampton. He was young, a lot of potential, and never fulfilled that potential massively. I mean, maybe he was always destined for a number two. I just misread the situation, but I thought he was going to be a good push for number one. But he isn't. He's now arguably number 3 behind Joe Hart. So quite the fall from grace, I think, for Gazaniga.
Yeah.
And Pete?
Right. Before I go in with my picks, I'd like to point out that last week, Oliver, I was right. There are 3 Triple Crown champions who got into the team via free votes. They're Aurelio Gomez for the worst six-a-side team, Federico Fazio for the worst six-a-side team, and Benoit Assou-Ekotto for the most skillful six-a-side team. And on that subject, I yet again have gone for Aurelio Gomez. Because when we signed him, he'd just come off the back of did we lose to PSV on penalties? And he was in goal and saved the penalties, and he had good games against us. And I remember thinking, yes, we've got ourselves a good goalkeeper. We did not have ourselves a good goalkeeper. We had ourselves the worst goalkeeper any of us have ever seen play for Tottenham. So I've gone for Aurelio Gomez, and now we have to vote.
Well, I'll vote first. And I'm going to vote for Ollie's pick here off the basis of your description. Because you said that Gomez, we just got a bad goalkeeper. So was it a waste of talent or was it bad scouts?
Okay.
Because what you're saying is that he was brilliant. He came over and just lost it. It just didn't go well. So I'm going to go for Gazaniga, despite I don't think either of them are necessarily massive waste.
I would go
Cudicini. Has more potential.
Sorry, I'll go Cudicini. I think that's a good shout from you, Jez. From a career point of lack of, drive.
Yeah, I'm also going to jump on Cudicini because I like to have a mixture of players in. Not the only reason, I think it was well argued, Jerry. But also, I like to have a variety of players getting in. So I like the Cudicini's not been in before. So stick him in, Oles.
He's in.
Well, Carlo. For the next one, am I saying? I say both defenders.
Yes. Yeah. Same format every week.
I'm sorry, I forgot. I may be the alpha and the omega, but I'm also big as shit. So I went for 2 different choices for different reasons. So I went for Stephen Corker. As one, because I thought it genuinely looked like he was going to be brilliant. Yeah. I so hope that Tanganga doesn't follow the same line, because again, I watch Jaffet and I think, yes, there's a player. He's got potential. Slightly worried about Jaffet's injury problems at the moment. But with Corker, I thought, yeah, he's a talent. This guy looks a player. And we've known he'd done pretty well. We played a few games that were quite decent. I think he played against Liverpool and played really well. Again, Tanganga, things are coming up here. Please don't follow it. And yeah, it just seemed to fall to pieces. I mean, he went to Cardiff, was it? He was made captain immediately. And yeah, he just disappeared. Just did not make it. I don't know what happened there. When I thought he was going to come on to be quite a special centre-half and play for us for many, many years. And then the other one, sad as it is, and I say this with the most respect, is Ledley King. Because I put Ledley King because what a waste of talent in terms of his knees failed him and then he wasn't able to play. So if you want to talk about a player that wasn't able to fill their potential, there's your guy, and through no fault of his own, but because his body broke down. So those are the 2 I went for. Ollie?
Nice. Poor Ledley King. I went for I also went for Stephen Corker, actually, for very similar reasons. He looked the part, didn't he? He was tall, quick, commanding, pretty good with his feet. Had a really good season with Swansea. He played almost every game in the Premier League. Looked decent, and don't know what happened. Like you say, he went to Cardiff. I think he had a lot of issues. I want to say with gambling. I don't know if that's right or not, though. I know he had some.
Oh, another pod rumour.
I know he definitely some issues that he really struggled with mentally. It might have been the drugs as well. Maybe he got in with Lamella a bit early on, Pete.
Flipping it.
It was over him. And the other player I went for was actually DeAndre Yedlin, who I was so excited for and has all the raw potential to be a brilliant football player and wasn't. And he had the potential. I remember seeing clips of him for Seattle Sounders that looked brilliant, very raw, lots of potential, and just never fulfilled it. And even at Newcastle now, he's just not not doing the business really. But
Don't even play, does he? There's that one clip of him. I remember that one clip of him for Seattle Sounders where he makes up like 50 yards. It's ridiculous. On a similar vein to DeAndre Yedlin, Knowles, I've gone for a current Spurs player in Serge Aurier. Because he just has everything to be a good fullback. Quick, strong, he's athletic, he gets up well, he's got good in the air, and it's just his brain that lets him down. And even his tech is good as well. Like, he strikes a ball well, he can play a pass, but he's just thick, man. The other one, I fully don't expect him to get in, but I personally just remember being super excited about him for no real reason other than I loved him. Reto Ziegler. He is one that, in the terms of biggest disappointment, not because I thought he had a bag of ability, but I just so wanted him to do well. And he just wasn't as good as I was hoping he was going to be. So those are my two. Stephen Corker makes it in automatically. Who follows in with him?
Interesting shouts.
I just don't want to put... I 100% understand where you're coming from, but I don't want to put Ledley in.
I'm actually thinking similar things for Serge Aurier. I mean, I love Ledley a lot more, but I think I'm actually going to go against what I'm thinking, because I think the argument for Aurier is a strong one. So I think I'll go for Serge, but I feel a bit upset to do it.
I adore Ledley King. I don't know if you boys, there's a podcast I sent you to listen to a little while ago. He's on it. I can't remember what it's called. He talks about his injury, and it is heartbreaking for him. Like, the stuff he had to deal with in that sense of, they literally say to him, how does it feel for everyone to say to you, you would have been all-time great if it wasn't for your injury? And it's brilliant what he talks about anyway. But yeah, I had Aurier in my team actually, and I will pick Aurier. I took him out obviously, but I will pick Aurier for me. Fair
enough. I would have gone Yedlin in, one, because I don't want to put Ledley in, and two, because his argument is very similar to Aurier's argument as well. So in goes Serge Aurier.
Fair enough. Right, I'm moving to my midfielders. One I went for who I forgot about, but you guys reminded me of last week in Adel Taarabt. God-given talent. So
yeah,
you're blessed, and obviously he's not a hard worker. He was just born a fantastic footballer with unreal feet. His footwork is insane. So he had to go in for me, because he is a waste of time, because your attitude ain't right. If he wanted to, he could be one of the best players in the world, I believe, when you're that naturally gifted.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have that work ethic, seemingly, without putting him down too much. He doesn't have the work ethic, and he's a nasty guy. And then,
he could hang around with Danny Murphy.
No. He would never do that. Danny Murphy's far too boring for Adel Taarabt. He would not have that. And then I went for Tom Huddleston.
Oh, no.
Sorry, but I went for Tom Huddleston because absolute natural talent. But did he ever look particularly fit? Or did he ever manage to move faster than a fridge? And
one day Ramos turned it. I don't want to upset you.
It's my vote. I love watching Tom Huddleston. I adored him. I think his technique was you just purr at it. But I think it was a bit of a wasted talent, because look where he ended up and where his career went. So when you're that good, you should be excelling in a much bigger club than Derby County, in my opinion. So that's who I've gone for. Ollie?
So my two are very different to yours, actually. We've definitely got different impressions on the question at hand. But I've gone for Paulinho.
Big shout.
Who I was very excited for when we signed. Again, lots of excitement, and was just disappointing. I think he had that one moment, that one back heel against Cardiff, I want to say. I think he scored. That Lamela assisted him, or Soldado assisted him from, can't remember. But yeah, I went for him, and they did that really weird move to China, and that even weirder move to Barcelona. They went back to China. That just stunk of something creepy, that did. Another player I went for was George Kevin Nkudu as well. Another one who I was really excited for. Had the world. He was in a hotel for like 3 weeks before he signed it. It was just mental. And the excitement was really high for him, and then he was terrible. So yeah, more of a flop than a disappointment, but it could sort of fits in that.
He did get that assist for Winksy against Fulham, that late winner, didn't he?
Good. Here we go, and nothing.
and then we just hold him. Yeah, I've gone for two completely different players again.
Oh,
so one person that I was going to put in and I took out at the last minute, David Bentley.
Yeah.
Had it all and just seemingly didn't really fancy it in the end. And he didn't get treated particularly well at Spurs. Like, he got kind of left out a lot. But the two I've gone for, Giovanni Dos Santos.
Good.
Should have been class. And just never really cut it in the Premier League. Had everything, but didn't do it. And the other one I went for is Marcus Edwards, who everyone talked about for so long, coming through the ranks and all the ability he had. And there's obviously, didn't we play against him in a random game? He played against Arsenal, didn't he, in the Europa League?
He's in Portugal, isn't he?
He scored, didn't
he?
Yeah, I think he did. And he just had everything. He looked like he was going to come through and be a worldie, and just never really made it as well. So those are my two.
Oh, this is tough.
Now, we're in a tricky situation, boys, because we've got 6 different players.
Right. Can I vote first?
Yeah.
Yep.
I nearly put Edwards in, Pete, so I'll put one vote to Edwards. I assume I've got to do 2 votes.
I guess so, yeah.
But yeah, I would go for Edwards. He was someone I nearly put in. And then I would also go for Paulinho, because he was a player that I was super excited, and then you've seen he went and played for Barcelona and he did get goals. So he did have it, but it just didn't work for us for some reason, which was really upsetting, because when you sign a Brazilian centre mid, you get excited.
Yeah. Unless you're Sandro.
Yeah, Sandro, we've got absolute combative Brazilian centre mid come through. Loved him though.
I love how crazy was Sandro.
Those are the 2 I'll go for.
Okay, I'll go for Marcus Edwards as well, because I think he was a really good shout, to be fair. That's a good one. And then who were yours, Jez?
Tarakt and Huddleston, much to Peter's disgust.
Huddleston ain't going in.
Tarakt is a waste of God-given talent.
Yeah, I think Tarakt is probably the one. Tarakt is the one.
Yeah. What happens now because I'm tempted to go Paulinho and Tarakt, and that just puts us with 3 players on 2 votes.
We'll do rock, paper, scissors. We'll duel. No, we'll discuss.
Well, no, so if I've said Paulinho and you two, that's 3, isn't it?
Yeah, but I said Edwards and you two said Edwards, so it doesn't technically count. The vote is technically separate from the original thing, so he's only got 2 votes.
Okay.
So I'm not putting Tom Huddleston in, so I'm going to put Tarakt in, and I'm going to say Paulinho. So we now have to vote again.
Then we've got 3.
This is unheard of on the I Not Entertained podcast.
All right, I'll have, and you can vote for your own here. You can do as you please. I'll go for Tarakt and Edwards.
Okay.
I will go Paulinho and Edwards.
So I'll go Edwards, but he doesn't technically count as a Triple Crown champion, so he's not going in.
Yeah.
And then it's between Tarakt and Paulinho.
I think you know.
I think I'm going to go for Paulinho on the basis of when I first thought about doing this team, it was people that I was excited that came into the club that let me down, and I wasn't excited when we first got Tarakt. I was excited when we got Paulinho. So Paulinho and Marcus Edwards make it in. Jerry?
Jerry's fuming.
Because of your short-sightedness is what you're saying there, is the reason that they've made it in. Fair enough. Ollie strikers. I was so excited by the whole process for the midfield. I also done this one. It's a slightly weird choice that I've made. Maybe it's because I just started. It's the Pussy Ranger in Jermaine Defoe. But the reason being is I was thinking to myself, how did Defoe not start most of the games when he's? But it's almost a weird thing because it's the fact that we've got Berbatov and Keane and we had great strikers. And I was thinking how long we've struggled to have a striker who's as good as Kane or to rival Kane, or even before that, having a particularly decent striker. And I thought, what a waste of talent Defoe was, who in my opinion is probably one of the best goal scorers we've ever seen in the Premier League. And he was bit part off the bench most of the time, disrespected for a lot of his Spurs career. So I thought to myself, how blessed were we that we thought to ourselves, well, we need to go and get another bloody good striker and not sort out the problems behind. We had Defoe, we carried on buying great strikers, which is a problem for Spurs for so long.
Yeah.
So I put Defoe, because that, again, not his fault. Poor ability from the people at the top to decide where we needed to recruit, because we didn't need strikers to better Defoe. It sounds terrible because obviously you sign excited players like Berbatov, King, so on. But yeah, that was my thinking. We were blessed to have a striker like him, and we didn't use him to the full.
I think we've certainly had different interpretations of the topic today, haven't we?
Yeah, I think me and you are about to go the same.
Yeah, mine's Soldado. It couldn't be anyone. From, again, like I said, my interpretation of the topic was biggest disappointment in my personal disappointment, i.e. Soldado was meant to be the guy to come in and sort us out, and he really wasn't that when it came down to it. Yeah, thank God for having you.
Great, man. The man bagged goals in Spain for fun.
Weird.
And he just couldn't do it in the Premier League, and it was gutting. Absolutely gutting.
But we still love you, Bobby.
What was
I love him because he still sometimes tweets about Spurs, doesn't he?
He does. You're right, boys. It's Soldado. And I think his nickname, wasn't it, Spilt Milk? Or
Bad Milk.
Bad Milk, that's it.
Bad Milk.
Awful or bad nickname.
Bad nickname.
But Ollie, take us through the team.
So, the Are You Not Entertained? Biggest disappointment / wasted talent for Jerry.
That was what I said in the message.
In goal, we've got Carlo Cudicini for his career on the bench. Stephen Corker and Serge Aurier form a potentially fearsome defence. Potentially.
They do have the potential. That is the point, Ollie. You're not wrong.
Potentially, the midfield was also... I won't make the same joke 3 times, don't worry. Marcus Edwards and Paulinho, they're just disappointing, aren't they, really? And then the ultimate disappointment for all Spurs fans is Roberto Soldado.
Bobby.
Absolutely.
Oh, Bobby, how we loved you. We brought you as a striker, and we tried to make you an attacking midfielder.
I think he made that way himself, and so concludes that six-a-side segment. Right, welcome to a new part of the show, which we will call Tottenham Talk, which, to be fair, is the whole show.
The whole show, apart from the world of football.
But it's Tottenham Talk. And at this point, we look for tweets from you guys, from the general public, well, normal guys like ourselves, and then we give our opinions on it. And whether you agree with our opinions or you care for our opinions, I just hope you'll like us. I just hope you'll like us as people. So,
you'll like us and share us and get on that clicking button.
And subscribe.
Be our friends, please. But we put out a bit of a tweet, and we asked chaps, didn't we, for people's worries about the club at the minute, or ambitions, or what they thought prediction of theirs, things they were thinking about of the club in general at the moment. And of course, with the last result not being so fabulous, there are a bit more worries than there were positives. But we can twist them round, and we can talk about them, and we can say what we think. So one of the first tweets that come through, which we're going to answer, was from @SwindlehurstJ. Fantastic if your surname is actually Swindlehurst. Really impressive, I think. And he said, my biggest worry, we won't find which 11 plays best together and rotate all season. He actually went through. He said, my biggest prediction is a high-scoring season, but Europa finish again. Strongest opinion, we don't have a winning mentality and can't physically have one until we win something. And brackets, complete paradox. So I mean, it's interesting. So the biggest worry that we won't find which 11 plays best together and rotate all season is, I think Mourinho probably has an idea what his favourite 11 is. I think it will be a lot of rotation because of Europa. But Pete, what do you make to that point?
Yeah, I do. I think it is tough. It is going to be tough. He's got to rotate. If he wants to compete on a few fronts, then he's going to have to rotate. And I don't know. I feel like he has got a good idea. I'm not sure if he's decided on which right back he prefers yet. I think he's pretty much decided on Reguilon. I think he's decided on Dyer. His midfield three. His midfield three. No, his midfield three. I don't think he knows yet. And I'm assuming his front three will be Kane, Bale, and Sonny when they're all fit. So, but then he's got other players in the squad that he really likes. He likes Lamela. He'll get game time if he's fit. Yeah, it's a tricky one. I think there's not much we can do about it. He will have to rotate. And whether you know your best 11 or not, I think we'll see that in the bigger games. When it comes to real big games, then we'll see what he thinks his best 11 is.
Absolutely. And I think, like Mourinho, chops and changes, Ollie said the other day, he organises his team and his lineup for each team he's about to play. He's not one of those managers that say, you need to deal with us because we're great. He organises a plan for every single team he plays against. Pep Guardiola does that fantastically as well, but we won't go into him today. Biggest prediction, he said high scoring season, but Europa finish again. So he thinks we're going to finish outside the Champions League slots. Ollie, what do you think?
I mean, judging on the season so far, it's not too crazy to say that. However, I do think that we are in overall pretty good form. I think we've lost twice in the last 19 games, which is phenomenal form for us, and that's very Mourinho-esque. I don't think we'll finish that low. I think we will have a very high scoring season. That is absolutely bang on. But I think also as the season goes on, I think either as players get used to this sort of behind closed doors aspect of it, or whatever the hell is going on with defenders at the minute, that will calm itself down. And I think football will go back to sort of some normality in that sense. I don't think we'll carry on conceding goals the way we are. I suppose it goes back to the previous point of not knowing your best sort of team in general. I think a best 11 is difficult, but I think your best back five are crucial. So I think he's struggling in the back five, I think, in a minute, like you said, Jez. So I think with the 2 points there, I think they kind of sort of complement each other. I think once he gets that back five sorted out in particular, I think we'll see sort of the goals stop flying as they are from all areas, apparently. Yeah, I do think we'll finish top four, though.
No, I agree. I think we'll finish top four. And I also think it's a nicer problem to have that we're worried about the back line, but we know that attacking wise we are ready. And the hardest thing in football is normally to score goals. And at the moment it's obviously man to the back. But if you had a manager of your choice to sort out your back line, you'd probably pick Mourinho. Yeah. So hopefully he can get that going for us, and I think he will. I agree. I'm still pretty positive.
I suppose it's interesting with the mentality thing, right? As Spurs fans, we're expecting to have just 11 good players. We've got 16 good players now. It's not a bad thing.
And talking about mentality, Ollie, is perfect because he said his strongest opinion was we don't have a winning mentality and can't physically have one until we win something. And I'll actually tie this in to another tweet, which is from @Tangai It actually is Tangai's father.
Tangai's father, nice.
Oh, hey, Mr. Ndombele.
No blue tick, but I believe this is actually Tangai's father. His biggest worry, all of our players except Kane, Hugo and Højbjerg have a shit mentality, which comes into what our friends saying in Swindleworth. So, Peter, what do you make of that? Do you agree?
I agree that Kane, Hugo and Højbjerg all have excellent mentalities. Whether the rest have shit mentalities, I'm not sure if I 100% agree. I'm sure there will be like a scale of fantastic mentalities, the three that you just mentioned, and it will go down to the bottom where you've got players with an awful mentality. Like I think Lamela's attitude and mentality is great. I think he'd be just behind those three. Toby probably the same. and then you would slide down to the likes of Aurier, who doesn't seem to care about anything. He just seems like Aurier to me would be the type of person that the day after we lost, he wouldn't care. He'd be out doing other stuff. Dele's the same. I don't feel like he would care when we lost and stuff. So I think he's right. I think there is an issue with mentality in the squad that was showed on Sunday. But I think it's harsh to say that everyone else's mentality is shit apart from those three. For me, anyway.
Agreed. And someone like Sonny, for example, great mentality.
Mm.
The man won't even have a girlfriend until he retires. That's how willpower is.
That is what you want to hear. But I suppose it comes down to the fan mentality. Like I say, it's 3-0 up. We weren't confident, right? Could you imagine Man City not being confident at 3-0?
Exactly. It's in-house. It's definitely a thing about the club. You'd think maybe the fans not being there, they wouldn't feel as nervous, but it's just there. It's ingrained. And that's
nerves there. It's ingrained with our club, and we are a part of that.
Absolutely. And it's Mourinho's toughest challenge. It really is.
Yeah.
Our next one is from @egadine THFC or Gaden. I don't know. Great name. His name's Ethan. So from Ethan said, his biggest worry is our centre-back issue. That being said, I still think that we will finish in the top 4 and win a trophy this season. And he does the eye emojis. We're really serious about it. I actually completely agree with this tweet. So I'm just going to go to you guys. Pete, biggest worry, centre-back issue, thinks we'll finish in the top 4 and win a trophy. And I do still believe that as well.
I don't know if I'm fully sold on winning a trophy. I really hope we do, obviously. Whether I think it deep down, I'm not sure. 100% agree with him. That I think centre-back is our biggest issue at the minute. To me, Toby is we talked about it before in the group chat, Toby is our best centre-half still. And Mourinho, for some reason, thinks that Dyer and Sanchez may well be, which is baffling. It'd be interesting to see how much game time this Rodon gets. I think he's a bit of a raw package still. He's only 22, which is young for a centre-half. Centre-halves don't tend to come through that early. So we'll see. I think it is something that needs addressing. But I also think that defending in the Premier League full stop needs addressing. It's not just at our club. So for us to say it's us that are worrying about it, everyone's worrying about it. Chelsea are shipping goals. Man United are shipping goals. Liverpool are shipping goals.
City.
City have let goals in. So, it's everywhere. It's not just us. So, hopefully it doesn't cost us in the long run, but we will see.
Absolutely. And Ollie, just quickly from the centre-back, who would you start? And what's the answer to the centre-back issue? Is it 3 centre-backs? Is it that we need a different... What's the partnership?
I think they've each got their merits, they've each got their downfalls. If you could put Alderweireld...
Oh, get off the fence, Ollie.
If you could put Alderweireld's head onto Sanchez's body, that is the best centre-back you could ever get. But Alderweireld has the extra yard in his head, but he's a bit slower. I still think he's the best centre-back we have. And I'd probably have to put him with Dyer, I think I do like Dyer's mentality. I do like he sticks his head in everything. I think he's slightly smarter than Sanchez. That's not a big compliment, I appreciate. But I think he's slightly smarter than Sanchez. And he can play the ball a bit more than Sanchez can as well. But I think overall I'd probably have to go for those two. But I agree with everything that Ethan said in that tweet there, 100%. And we're winning a trophy. We're winning trophies, baby.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think we're going to win something. I really do. And it may be a problem at the end, but I really believe it.
Peter has just moved.
Peter is magic, and he just proved it.
Sorry, it's because I'm doing it on my phone and my battery's on the way out soon. So
I believe that was the last question, Jez, was it not?
This should be the last tweet we do, yes. Okay. And from @Tommy Yids. And he said he's actually done three tweets. I'm going to go through them. He has pack a lot in there. He said, biggest worry, our defence and us not being able to finish teams off. Strongest opinion, Winks gets unfairly slated. That last goal against City was not his fault. He was at full stretch to ensure Snodgrass didn't get it and was unfortunate his touch fell into the path of a wonder strike. Biggest prediction, we will score more goals than any other team. Harry or Son will get golden boot. think, to be fair, most of these I agree. Biggest worry, our defence and us not being able to finish teams off. Already been a problem this season. Looks worrying. Strongest opinion, Pete. You went into this really. Winks gets unfair-slated. Last goal, he's stretching for the ball. He was trying to stop Snodgrass getting it. Yes, he should be trying to clear it, but was he stretching? What do you think? Like, get the benefit of the doubt there.
Yeah, we kind of talked about that bit before, didn't we? Yeah, I think he was. I get why people get at him, but I think it's because their perception of him was already bad anyway. Like for me, I like Winks, so I tried not to blame him. People that hate Winks will blame him. So it's all subjective, and it's literally how you feel about Winks, what glasses you have on when you see Winks, and that'll make your decision. So I imagine this guy likes Winks because he's trying not to give him the blame. So that's probably it. High scoring season, yeah. And it'd be nice if Kane or Sonny got the golden boot. It'd be nice for Sonny. I want Kane. I so want Kane to catch Shearer, so he needs to be getting golden boots to do that. But I'd love Sonny to win the golden boot one year.
Absolutely. Ollie, do you think Sonny or Kane will get the golden boot this year?
I think so. You'd be hard pressed to pick anyone over them in a minute. I know Calvert-Lewin's banging goals in, but he could arguably be where Kane was 5 years ago, but we'll see. But yeah, for me, I think Kane's one goal away from getting top 10 all-time Premier League top goal scorers. I think he's 2 behind Michael Owen as well, which we put in 8th. And he's done it in like 100 less games than both players. So, I would love Harry Kane to get that Shearer record. Part of me thinks that's why he'll stay at Spurs. Part of me is worried that he'll want to stay in England, therefore could leave. But is what it is. I agree with again the tweets. I think it's bang on. I think the Winks one's a difficult one. It comes down to perception. You could argue if he does lunge to clear it and give away a foul, you could argue that just do it anyway, or you could argue that you could even try and there's 2 players next to him. Could you try and knock it back? That's probably more dangerous, but situationally it might have not been. But I would imagine in that situation again, Winks takes his opportunity that lands in. He's not going to put it in the absolute postage stamp of the top corner. And again, you could argue that Winksy was fouled as well, trying to get the block from Ogbonna. So depends. But yeah, I overall agree with that seat there. I think pretty fair assessment there.
To be fair to these guys, great opinions.
Yeah.
Great opinions. And they know this, so they've got good taste and good knowledge of football. That's what I'm saying right now.
We'd like to see.
Every single one of them. But thank you, chaps. Hereby, that will end our latest episode of Are You Not Entertained? Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
As Peter said before, like us, subscribe to us. Please be our friends, share us and get people talking. And as always, up the Spurs,
Up the Spurs, boys. See you next week, chaps.